Good evening, boxing world, and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Bout Hour, the channel dedicated to bringing you fantasy matchups on a regular basis. If there's a particular matchup that you want me to cover, please leave it in the comment section, and I promise to honor your request. Don't forget to subscribe and to hit the bell notification. I got two requests from James D. I thank you for your request, and I thank you for participating in the channel. I'm going to do something different in this video. I'm going to cover two fights in one video, so I hope you enjoy. The first fight that he mentioned was George Foreman versus Larry Holmes. What a great fight. And whenever I think of George Foreman at his greatest, I'm thinking of old George Foreman. I'm thinking of bald-headed George Foreman. So young George Foreman was great, but old George Foreman was better in my opinion. So that's the George Foreman I'm always thinking about. So that's the fight. That's the fighter that I picture going against Larry Holmes. And so this would be a battle of jabs. And George Foreman had an underrated jab, and Larry Holmes was known as one of the greatest jabbers, if not the greatest jabber, in boxing history. So this would definitely be one for the ages. What they have in common is they both fought Muhammad Ali, and I mean, they just have so much in common as far as their styles. Both power punchers. They both have power jabs. So once again, it would be a battle of the power jabs. But I just feel that George Foreman had more heart for some reason. I mean, this guy, you could hit him with everything, including the kitchen sink, and he would just keep coming at you. I consider George Foreman the greatest pressure fighter in the history of boxing. And he was giving these young guys a run for their money when he came back in his second career. Holyfield, Michael Moore, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but Foreman, he just kept coming. It's like he didn't feel the punches or something. So, old George Foreman was a very difficult fighter. That's not to take anything away from Larry Holmes, because Larry Holmes, he brought it, as far as his jab, his power jab, and his other attributes. So these guys were just dangerous fighters. But in this particular one, I just have to go with Big George Foreman. Simply because he had the better chin. I mean, he probably has the best chin in the history of boxing. And so, I see Big George knocking Holmes out late. It would be a good fight up until that point, but I just see Big George taking it. So, that's my pick on that. Let me know what you think. And so let's move on to James D. second request, Tua versus Tyson. This is a fight that definitely should have happened at some point. I consider Tua and Tyson the same fighter. In terms of style, in terms of power, in terms of toughness. They're both short heavyweights. Excuse me. And but my pick on this one might be a little controversial, but I'll explain it to the best of my ability. I think Tua was more durable. I think Tua was more consistent. Tua has lost, but Tua has never been stopped. And of course, Iron Mike Tyson is one of the greatest heavyweights in boxing history. But where Tyson ran into trouble is when he couldn't intimidate his opponents. When that intimidating factor wasn't there, then that would give his opponents an edge. When he couldn't put that fear in his opponents, he lost the advantage. So I think Tua was quicker. I think Tua had a better chin. So this will be good while it lasted, but I see Tua getting to Tyson down the stretch. So, and Tyson didn't go the distance a lot. So I just see Tua maybe stopping Tyson, around 9 or 10. To be quite honest with you. And as controversial as that might be, I just have to call it how I see it. Once again, they basically had the same style. But, I just think Tua was a little quicker. I just think Tua was a little more determined, more disciplined, and was a little more tougher. So, as far as Foreman versus Holmes, I see Foreman stopping Larry Holmes late. And as far as Tua versus Tyson, I see Tua stopping Tyson late. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I will see you on the next video.